Jesus says you cannot serve God and mammon. That's pretty much how he starts out. And then he talks about worries and anxieties. I have to laugh when he says twice, you know, why do you worry about clothes? And I remember times when I was younger, and I used to get ready to go out with my sisters, and they would say, you're going out wearing that. And then they would try to redress me in all these different ways. I wish they had known that. Clothes, they don't matter. All the things that we really worry about in life, how many of those things do we have control over? I mean, to think about it. So Jesus says you cannot love both God and mammon. But we have to put this in context. It's about faith and works. I mean, isn't that really the argument? And it comes up time and time again. Faith and works. And some non-Catholic Christians will say, all you need is faith. You cannot work your way to heaven. And that's true, the second part anyway. We cannot work ourselves into heaven. That's a heresy. It's called Pelagianism. And there are non-Christian religions who do believe they can work their way into heaven. If they do enough good deeds or what have you, they'll get into heaven. We don't believe that. But we do need works. There's no doubt about it. C.S. Lewis would say there's a balance there. Faith and works. You have to have both, because when you stress one over the other, it's like trying to cut with a pair of scissors using only one of the blades. It's not going to work. And we need to have both parts of that. You can't hold one over the other. To have faith without works is like praying that your mother-in-law gets well again, but you're unwilling to drive her to the hospital to do so. And so you're just wishing her well, but not willing to do anything about it. So we have to have both of these. Thus comes in the mammon. So mammon, M-A-M-M-O-N, is a Hebrew word. It's Hebrew in origin. And what the mammon was all my treasures, my goods, those things that I've invested anything in, and I'm entrusting that to someone else. That's my mammon. What I entrust to someone else, like a bank almost today. Now, at the time that Jesus is preaching about this, it's no longer that kind of mammon. In fact, the Greeks even changed the word to use only one M in it, because it had transformed for something I am entrusting to someone else. It transformed into something that I trust in. See the difference there? Having a treasure that I'm willing to entrust to someone is much different than having a treasure that I trust in. Does not our own greenback say, in God we trust? And so there was a transfer that came there that Jesus is saying, okay, you can't trust in this thing more than you trust in God. It doesn't make any sense. So if you're trusting in this thing that cannot buy you health, cannot buy you more life, cannot buy your salvation, and you're not trusting in God, that's wrong. And that's the whole problem. And that's why he's saying, that's why you worry about everything. It's why we have the anxiety that we do. You know, we've just gone through a few years where the economy has been tough at best. People have lost millions of dollars, not only in the stock market, but in these scams that people have done, and bad investments where they thought, well, I'm taking my retirement, I'm investing it, and then these crooks took it and ran with it. And they're still doing it, by the way. 2 days ago, I got a call, and this person said, I won a Lincoln Navigator. And I thought, that's great. I'll sell it, and I'll be able to pay off the rest of this elevator, right? So then they started asking personal information, account information, where my bank is, and stuff like this. And I said to them, you know, I'll tell you what, a friend of mine is the district attorney. Could you talk to him and give him this information? It was almost immediate. So they're still trying to scam people. It's not over yet. And the reason why they can do this is money is very fluid. It really is fluid. And that's great at some points because, okay, I can sell high and I can buy low. And that works great for the stock market. But at bad times, it's awful. Even the wise person who stuffs their money in the mattress, at best, they get a bad back. And at worst, I mean, God forbid they get robbed or there's a fire or something else. Money is fluid. We cannot put our faith in something like that. Because as Jesus is essentially saying, it cannot buy you salvation, it cannot buy you health, it cannot buy you more life. And so put your faith in something that is consistent. Well, what is consistent? Our God. We invest in a God who says, even though a mother would forget her infant, we can't even imagine that. Even though a mother would forget her infant, I will not forget you. I will not leave you. This is coming toward the end of Isaiah. They've been exiled. Now they're coming back. The fulfillment is finally there. And they feel like God's deserted them forever. No, no, no. I never deserted you. Even though you deserted me. I never deserted you. I never betrayed you. And so to be able to put our faith in something that is consistently good and wants only the best for us. I mean, who wouldn't do that? And I don't know about your experience financially, but my experience is the more I worry about my money, the less I have for some reason. And the less I worry about it, there's always plenty. Everything gets taken care of. In the same respect, almost selfishly, the more things I give away, it seems the more things I get. And counter to that, the more I cling to things and hoard things, the more anxiety I have about losing them. The more I really focus on what I do not have. So how do we keep the balance? How do we use both blades of the scissors? By making sure that our faith is lived out in our works. That's it. That our faith penetrates every aspect of our life. That people can see what we're doing at the mall or at work or in the office or at church, anywhere, and they will know that we are faithful. That it's not enough to simply say, I believe. Sola fide is not enough. Because even James in his letter would say, you know, you show me your faith without works, it's kind of empty. It really is. That God will say, what have you done for me? And that's what it was. And so we have those opportunities. Lent is coming up very quickly. And during that time, we need to ask ourselves, what has been in my life for a long time that I need to let go of? What have I been clinging to and hoarding that I need to just relinquish? And what have I needed in my life for a very, very long time, but I've kept it out? Maybe because I was afraid to get out of my comfort zone. And I'm asking us to think about these things now because when Lent gets here, it's too late. We'll be floundering to try to figure out what we should do. I really, it's a challenge to really look at my Lent this year and to think, how do I live out my faith? How can I transform this mammon that I now trust into something, once again, that becomes a treasure I entrust to another? Another who loves me more than I could ask or imagine. Okay, so that's the lesson for tonight. Take that lesson with you and preach it. And now on to a separate note while I have your attention. About this time last year, I looked at my calendar. It was February 28th that we had a town hall meeting across the street in the Parish Center to talk about this elevator project that we're doing. So it was almost a year ago we had this meeting. And at that meeting, people gained information. 2 weeks later, we had a vote in the parish. The vote was unanimous to put in this elevator. At the end of that month, which would have been March then, we had a meeting with Pastoral Council where it was approved to go ahead with the project. Well, then we had to go to the diocese, and so that took till about April. By the beginning of May, we were finally ready to begin our capital campaign and start sending out letters and everything else. And so that began less than a year ago, 3/4 of a year ago. And this week I find out that we are finally above $100,000. You know, the people in this parish never cease to amaze me. Honest to goodness. This little parish has produced over $100,000 at this point in less than a year. So the numbers go like this. The project as a whole, we said, would cost about $265,000. To put in an elevator, a stairway, new bathrooms, parking lot, all the stuff that goes with that. And yet over that time period, less than a year, I have seen amazing things from the people in this parish as far as craftsmanship. I mean, people really using their God-given gifts in a stewardship way to offer to the parish. And I've seen extraordinary craftsmanship put to use in the parish. So I would say, if these people continue to come forward, that the price might go down as low as $200,000. And let's just make it nicer. It might come down to $199.99, which sounds a lot less than $200,000. And even more than that, quite possibly. So, in order to borrow the money, we have to have $130,000. We need about $30,000 more to just push us over the edge. We go to the diocese, who kind of looked a little dubitably when we went last year and thought, oh, you're really going to raise that money? Okay. We go to them, we get the approval, we start putting out bids, we begin construction in the spring, we finish up in the fall, we have an elevator for Christmas time. It'd be wonderful. We just need a little bit more to push us over the edge. So, what does Jesus say? And this is, I didn't plan it this way. You cannot serve both God and mammon. So he's saying, give up your mammon. That's what he's saying. So if you've already given, thank you. If you can squeeze out a little bit more, that'd be great. If you cannot, though, I do not want your children to starve. Okay? If you haven't given, now is the time to push us over the edge so that we can really begin this project. So that's the first part. That's kind of the mammon part. The other part of that, though, is we've had numerous fundraisers. And, people within the parish have participated. If you haven't been serving the food, you've been eating it. If you haven't been working at the festival, you've come to it. If you didn't go to the bazaar, you at least served some of the food or made something to prepare for it. But you will notice when you go to these events, you see a lot of the same faces. These are the faces that are really putting the rubber to the road, so to speak. And so we need more of those faces, because I'm sure they get tired after a while. So if you have not participated yet, please do. Come out. We have some activities happening in the next few months. We have a breakfast on Saturday, a fundraiser for the elevator, an international breakfast. If you cannot help with that, bring 10 of your friends, okay, to eat breakfast there. We have a night at the races coming up in March. Again, a great fundraiser for the parish. We have various opportunities there. In fact, we are going to offer free childcare that night. And so we will be looking for teens who are willing to get service hours through babysitting, etc. We have nights of reflection coming up, put off by Outreach. And Outreach does a great deal for the parish. They're always looking for new members. The Legion of Mary in the parish is very good, but they need more members. So even if you can't commit to something that happens every single week, all throughout the year, to commit to something that maybe happens quarterly or every 6 months is more than maybe is happening now. So this is how we put our faith into action. It's how we become more than simply a person in the church. We become a person of the parish. And so I'd ask you in the days ahead, and as we approach Lent, to really explore the possibilities of becoming more active in the parish. And again, if you can possibly offer more, or get your relatives to offer more, to put us over the edge so we can really begin this wonderful project. Thank you.